Welcome back to another episode of Kicking Tables. Today we are delighted to welcome Jacob Lindborg from Antithesis Games to talk to us about Desolated, which just got to Kickstarter yesterday. Jacob, welcome to the show and congratulations on being funded so quickly.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
The game is doing amazing already. And why don't we give you an opportunity to tell us what Desolated is?
So in short, Desolated is a little engine builder. It's meant to be a filler, and with the three expansions available, you can sort of progress towards a bigger game. But basically, you go through a hand of five cards, and you play them either into your engine or you pay them to progress up in levels, gaining better and better cards. And in the end, you win when you have reached. We call them insulas, which is landmarks that you want to achieve in this game. So basically, prosperity.
Okay. And how long does a typical game session last then? So you need three of those in order to win?
Yeah.
And how long does a usual
It
session
lasts
last?
for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah, no, that's what I asked. 15, so it's a 15 minutes, so it's just a
Wow.
short, quick game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. What were your inspirations behind the creation of Desolated? The art is absolutely stunning. Just sort of wondered what brought you to that realm.
I wanted to do something in a space setting, and I was sort of surprised by the art as I stumbled across it. It's from an artist called Yuka from Finland, and I thought that, well, this art would make a amazing game. And then I started wondering what type of game it could be, and I always, enjoyed short, small filler engine builders, taking inspiration from Wingspan and Terraforming Mars, games like that. And that sort of became the base foundation for it.
So you really actually created the game for after seeing the artwork. That's that's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
That's neat. Yeah.
Now the base game itself is only for two players, although you can add more base games to add more players. What was the decision behind creating it for just two players and not say for four players as a base?
The game was originally designed to be playable. You could basically scale it infinitely, but at a certain point you got to cut it off, otherwise it'll just take too long to play. But the idea was to make it more approachable, more cost effective. So simply by saying, well, the only thing that really makes the change in going from two players to four players to six players is the amount of cards needed. So in order to just make it sure that, well, if you just need a two-player game, you can just buy, a small amount of cards instead of, from the beginning buying all three packs for a six-player game.
Okay.
Very cool. So the Kickstarter, you have both the core pledge and an all-in pledge, which gives you three copies of the base game as well as the expansions. Will the expansions be available separately for somebody who only wants like a single core set, like they only want to play
Yeah,
a two-player game?
yeah, they will. So in the beginning, we really thought about how we wanted to approach this, because the more options you give your baggers, the more complexity is, and the more complexity is, the more logistic, then the more logistic, the longer and more costly everything just becomes. So we thought that let's try to make something simple, simple pledge levels, but with the amount of progression we have at the moment and the interest from backers, obviously we're going to add add-ons so you can take a single core pack and the expansions.
Okay,
Okay.
so the expansions are not limited to more than two players then. They will still work with a
Yep,
two-player game.
absolutely.
Okay.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Now, what during your game testing? First of all, how long has this game been in development? And while you were testing it and creating it, what was some of the more difficult aspects of the game to actually balance correctly between two to six players, for example?
Well, balance is a funny thing because the game has been in development for 3 months approximately, and that for me, there's two types of balance. There's the mathematical balance and there's the feeling of balance.
Right.
So for the mathematical balance, what I do is I use an Excel and basically do an algorithm that sort of tries to map out all the points and all the values in the game, making sure that every icon is as equal of value as another icon.
Right.
Or if it's, if that icon allows you to buy double the amount, then that has to factor into the algorithm. So doing that, you can basically achieve, 80% of your balance through a simple algorithm, just making sure that mathematical it is balanced.
Right.
But then there's the feeling of balance, and you have to play test that because you might actually have something that is, equal of value, but people don't perceive it as equal.
Yep. Yep.
And that's I think that's the most exciting thing about the playtesting, seeing how people put more emphasis into one action, even though that mathematically they're equal in terms of how well you can achieve them or how likely they are to be available for the players. So that was something that we focused on in our playtesting. If people actually went for the different strategies available in equal measures, even though that we knew that mathematically they were balanced.
Right. And do you have any fun stories to tell during playtesting of things that happened in the game?
Um, oh, that's I have to think about that.
Well, think if you think of something, you just chime back in again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can move on but think about it. I always love to hear those playtesting stories. They're always fun to
Yeah,
fun
like
to listen to.
how like sometimes yeah, we've had a few where a different rule has come out of we're playing testing and some brand new rule is born out of some scenario that's come up. Those are always fun to hear about how.
Okay. On that note, I actually have something that came up. So doing playtesting, we always like to explore all kinds of possibilities.
For sure.
Even though pushing the core of the game, the core concept into different aspects, making sure that we haven't, you know, neglected an opportunity or something like that. So one of my designers, Morten, was actually trying to explore, really trying to take it into something different. And while he did that, we stumbled over something that resemble. So basically, let me just backtrack a little. So basically, what we have is when you play Desolated, you build these chains, as we call them, and these chains will effectively be your engine. And the longer the chain, the better your engine. But then we started to explore if we could have like a dungeon map with different setups that you can sort of run through in different constellations. And then we started talking about, well, this looks like a dungeon map. Well, maybe this could be a different game. And then we started talking about what kind of game would that be. And then this entire new game sort of sprung into to life, which is coming out next year.
Oh no.
Uh, so basically, doing playtesting, we sort of hit something that we thought, okay, this is interesting. It doesn't fit the core of Desolated, but it could really be something interesting later on.
Oh, that's cool. And now
Oh,
it's going
that's
to be a real game.
Yeah.
That's
oh,
awesome.
that's so you've now you're funded. You're well past funded at this point. A day or so in. Are there any of the stretch goals that you might be able to tease for us?
So some of the stretch goals is going to be more cards for the game, and we're going to tease more of the artwork, more of the lore, more of the story. But something that we really want to be able to deliver is the universe around this artwork. And our author Jeppe has been writing an amazing background story for this game, which is going to be one of the stretch goals. So we hope that we reach a level where we can actually put a full book into the game that really tells you the background story of these brave scavengers that basically just travel around the universe, working from these overlords of the universe.
So like a novel type book or more like just like a little history book of the world is that kind of.
No, it's going to be a short novel.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It's basically a combination between an artwork book and a novel. So you sort of dive into the universe if you
Yeah.
want to.
That's great. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone who is coming to this after the Kickstarter is running until the end of October, but they stumble across this afterwards. How will they be able to get Desolated? Are you planning to hit retail with this, or will you have it online for sale? What's the plan after Kickstarter fulfillment?
That's a good question because I think it depends on the opportunities given. Distribution is really difficult at the moment,
Hmm.
so we basically have to wait and see. But we know that a lot of retailers have already been contacting us, so it's going to be available somewhere.
Okay.
But we don't know how well spread it'll be after the campaign. But obviously, we'll be able to sell it on our own website and have international distribution. We have hubs in Europe and US and Asia. So it will be available, but I don't think that it will be widely available in retail.
As long as it comes to Canada, we're good.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Wow, I mean, Desolated sounds like a lot of fun. I love the concept that it's a quick game. It's made for two players, but you can add more players with just add more base games for it. And you know, from your Kickstarter, the price of entry is so reasonable. It's great. The Kickstarter sounds amazing. The game sounds great. You've already passed your goal. So normally I say I wish you all the best on your Kickstarter, but you don't need it. You've done so well. Jacob, we really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us about Desolated. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.